I'm Marcy Lundy. Today is Tuesday, December 5th, 2023, and this is the Cult of Kindness podcast. So, for the month of December, I thought it'd be really nice to have the topic of it's better to give than to receive, but it's got a little twist on it as we're talking about giving, but the gift in receiving here is the gift of goodness that we feel from giving. Uh, so I thought it'd be great to have our guest on here, Michael Pettiford, owner of Go For It Services. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So Michael is exceptionally accomplished. A speed demon, shall I call you?
I don't know about the demon part, but the
Right.
speed would definitely be accurate.
That's not the right term because you're one of the nicest people. So yeah, the speed angel, let's call you that.
That might be an overstep, but okay.
Okay. All right. Well, Michael, please give the audience a little bit of information about you.
Well, let's see. I started Go For It about 38 years ago because I was dissatisfied with what people called training in both cars, motorcycles, trucks, buses, RVs. We do all of those things. And since, ironically, I've got background in all of those things, we can do it really, really well. So if you really wanted to be safe, or your teenager wanted to be safe, I think we've got the best program in the country, just because we do it by the laws of physics, and we teach what the professional drivers that never have accidents ever do. And if you did what they did, you'd get the same results that they get. So that's our premise. And then we also have a racing team for cars and motorcycles.
See, that's what I think is awesome. And so, if you could give a little background. So, did you come out of the womb and you were ready to drive at 100 miles an hour?
I did. It was really kind of strange for my mom. She was like, "Oh my,"
Yeah, you drove before you walked.
Well, I mean, I've always liked to go fast. I
Yeah.
mean, I was crawling around the house fast. I was making car noises when I was a baby. No one knew why. They were a little worried about me for a moment, but I turned out okay. It turned out.
Oh, awesome. So you literally like very early on, that was
Yeah,
awesome.
I've always liked to know how fast I can go, whether it was running, in track or on a bicycle, or once I got acquainted with the internal combustion engine,
Mhm.
we became very good friends very fast. And finding the limits of whatever it is I was driving or riding or whatever was just something kind of in my DNA, and I've
Oh,
always loved it.
that's fantastic. So you were literally like the Formula One drivers where we see footage of them when they're 6 and 7. That was you.
Well, in the fantasy, yes, but
Yeah.
I did not come from money. I still don't come from money. I'm just a working guy.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do Formula One, you've got to either have a bunch of money or know somebody that has a bunch of money.
That's
So,
true. That's true. Although it was just last week I was looking at Lewis Hamilton's backstory, and he didn't come from money, but he was so good that he
right.
make his way in.
Well, and he was well connected. His dad knew some Formula One people that he got a chance to let them observe him, and they saw his obvious talent, and
Sure.
that allowed him to make the connection without having tons of money. So yeah,
Oh,
he was fortunate.
very yes. So you have this gift. Your parents are trying to figure out why you're making car sounds. When did they start to say, okay, well, let's get him into something? Or did you make the decision to go for it as you got older?
I made the decision because, ironically, when I came out to Colorado, I started getting tons of tickets because I loved going fast. And back then, I didn't know anything about racing.
Okay.
So I was so ignorant and so arrogant that I couldn't understand why these police officers couldn't see my obvious driving talents.
And they get to take.
And they kept giving me tickets, and I just didn't understand it. So finally, a buddy of mine took me aside and said, "Look, man, you've got this gift, and all you're doing is burning up money with lawyers and traffic fines. Why don't
Yeah,
you get into racing?" And I
yeah.
did not know how to do that, but I found out how to do it, and yeah, it's been a really positive change and balance in my life.
Sure, sure. So I know you're originally from Indiana, so I'm guessing there was more room out there to be a speed angel.
Well, the funny thing is in South Bend, Indiana, where I grew up, we used to do crazy stuff with cars. I mean, we should have been killed. I never got a ticket back there, not one.
Oh my
But as
goodness.
soon as I came out here with the twisty, curvy roads, oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad you're a safe driver that nothing ever happened. So
Yeah.
that's yeah. So you're being modest because, as I told you to tell the audience about yourself, I didn't hear you mention your numerous achievements and wins. So if you could tell the audience about that.
Well, I've won, let's see, 55 Sports Car Club of America divisional, national slash majors conference championships, which
Amazing.
is more than anybody else ever.
Amazing, Michael. That's incredible. All of that speed went to great use, I would say.
Well, but I haven't won the Indy 500. I'm not a Formula One driver, so you know there could be way more.
Yeah, that's just by chance. So, did you want to become an Indy or Formula One driver?
Well, it's just very significant races. I
Mhm.
mean, I've done the Pikes Peak hill climb on a motorcycle. I was actually the first black guy to do that, much to my surprise, in 2009. And let me be clear, it's not like I broke a barrier. They loved to have me do it. Everybody was just great. And I got fourth place in my class. And fourth place, you don't get to talk. First, second, third, you're on the box. Fourth, you put your tail between your legs and go back to your pit and try to do better next time.
Yeah.
But one of the guys said, "No, no, no, you're the first African American," and I'm like, "Seriously?" But
Um,
you look around and you're like, okay, maybe I am the first one. So
yeah, that's
anyway,
great.
yeah.
That's so good. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because it was one of the things I was wondering about. How were you received in the racing world as an African American man?
Well, nowadays it's not that big of a deal. I mean, we're still dramatically underrepresented, of course, as are women. And there is no such thing as an African American female road racing champion that I'm aware of. Now,
Right.
drag racing, yes. Circle track, yes. So let me know, Marcy, if you're wanting to get into a new thing.
You know what? When I lived in Los Angeles, I had an iron. I remember the first time I realized this, my niece was about 8 years old. I had her in the passenger seat, and I noticed her little head jerking every time. Oh, but I mean, I hope that changes because, it's so nice to see black and brown faces now. So I hope
Sure.
within the next 5 years that changes.
Well, I guess, the fantasy would be that, there's plenty of very rich African American people,
Yeah.
people of color.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not enough of them want a racing team or want to be represented in that way. And I get that, but you would think somewhere, um, and I don't have access to them, but if I could get an introduction to people and get them out to the track, put them in, one of the cars that we have, show them the speed, maybe there would be some interest, and we could do much more.
I think there is interest, they just don't know where to start. So I'm glad you put that into the universe because I'm sure there's people who would love to, but as a black man or a woman, they just aren't sure, is anyone interested in that?
Well, there are two in NASCAR. I'm trying to think. I should know both of their names, but Jordan's one of them,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
the other one was on 60 Minutes, and I can't think of his name. But
Okay.
they were competitors in basketball, and now they're competitors in NASCAR, and that's kind of cool.
That's really cool.
But in NASCAR, they had some issues because I know originally, it was kind of on the DL that it was owned by somebody black
Mm-hmm.
because of some of the hesitation still in NASCAR, you know. But I don't think I know that they know currently who the owners are.
Okay, yeah, and it's really nice to see, like Magic Johnson, like you said, Michael Jordan. It's so
Yeah,
nice to see these gentlemen be able to be in it on an ownership level. That's wonderful.
yeah. And that's what it's going to take. If you're going to make the decisions on who, what your team looks like, you need to be an owner to do that.
Absolutely, that's so true. Well, Michael, I wanted to talk to you about Go For It because this is one of the ways I think that you're giving and receiving because through your gift of racing, you're able to. Now, is it primarily young people or are you teaching everyone?
We train everybody. I mean, we've got our driver education program for predominantly 15-year-olds that are just starting to drive and get their licenses. We train older people that their families are concerned, can they still drive safely? We train special needs people, ADD, ADHD. I've trained people with brain injuries, amputees, over the years. So I mean, I can usually find the problem and fix the problem if the person wants it fixed and will do the work
That is
because it's not always easy.
right. That is so wonderful. I mean, especially just thinking about individuals where they're getting older and their families are concerned about their driving ability. That is so
Yeah.
nice. So before you started it, did you have an idea of specifically how you wanted to do it, or once you started it, you incorporated more into it?
I was originally part of some of the biggest safety organizations in the nation, like Motorcycle Safety Foundation, AAA, Specialty Vehicle Institute of America, which was for the ATV safety back in the days when the kids were getting killed on the three-wheelers and four-wheelers, and they were on 60 Minutes and all that. So I decided to jump into that pool and see
Yeah.
see if we could get some positive results there, and we did. So it was just being a part of those organizations and always being the person that that would say, well, what about this? I mean, we could be doing this better, and this is incorrect altogether. We shouldn't even be teaching that because that will cause accidents.
Right.
So finally, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was exercise 17 on the MSF Motorcycle Safety Foundation curriculum. And you had to say on a motorcycle, if you lock your rear tire, keep your rear tire locked.
Okay.
It's never been correct. If you do that at highway speeds, you can blow a tire and crash. I
Mm.
couldn't say it one more time.
Okay.
So I said, I'm done with this. I'll create my own curriculum. We'll do it by what the top riders and drivers do in the world, and we'll just break it down into bite-sized pieces, teach people step by step, and I can build a better mousetrap than this.
Oh
And
my
here
God.
we are.
Amazing. And how long have you been doing this?
This will be the 38th year.
Oh,
Yeah.
so wonderful. So, knowing you help so many different types of individuals and situations, what is the scariest? I'm guessing it's the kids.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to see how I got this gray hair, yeah, put yourself in a car with a teenager, or not just a teenager, but somebody that's not too good of a driver, and
Right.
put them on the street. And you've got to be really, really good and really, really focused. Uh,
Yeah.
but people have tried to kill me before, and, and I am still here.
And that just shows how great of a driver you are. So is it just you or you have a team?
I have a team. I do most of the training, and whenever you come out to one of my schools, you'll always get me. I'm not like a Skip Barber or a what used to be a Bondurant. I knew Bob. You usually are not going to get Bob. Bob is out with his helicopter or his boat, and he's not going to be at the track.
Right.
I don't have a helicopter or boat, so I will be there, and
And that's
that's okay. Uh,
yeah. And you're right. That's so nice. You see this picture of the owner, and then you go there. Oh, I'm actually with the owner as I do this. That's good.
yeah. So yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it got rolling, and it just got a little bigger and a little bigger. We started with one car, and stuff everywhere. Now we've got a bigger garage, and I don't know, 18 cars, 18 or 19 cars. So that
Yeah.
so that when we do a corporate event, which we also do, we've had as many as 125 people out at the track at one time, driving my cars and having a good time under supervision, of course. And then we give them what we call hot laps or e-ticket rides, rides at speed with either myself or one of my professional instructors.
Very good. And so you're a young man, I know. And so I'm wondering, will you ever
Sorry.
will you ever pass the baton or you want to do it as long as you can do it?
I have no plans to do that. It's hard to find people with the background um that are good at it, that will still take the time to teach it to a variety of people. I
Mhm.
mean, Lewis Hamilton is, you know, one of the top Formula One drivers in the world, and my favorite personally. To try to get him to teach your 15-year-old driver education on the road might be a challenge.
It might be.
He's going to be a little busy,
Right, exactly.
and he
Although with
and he's
him,
probably not going to want to do it.
yeah, with him being in the state as a part owner of the Broncos, you never know.
Yeah, yeah. I pretty much know.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, well, you have to shoot your shot, right?
yeah, yeah.
Well, that's so nice. And like I said, the gift to be able to do that, because personally speaking, I remember I took driver's ed in high school, like most people did, and it's subpar. You're not paying that much attention. You just are ready to get your permit. But I'm guessing in a situation with someone like you, it's exciting because this is someone who not only drives, they drive really well. So I'm guessing the interest is really there with everyone.
Well, and we just have a different curriculum. Most of the schools, they just kind of drive the kids around hoping that they'll get it by osmosis, you know.
Right.
That's not the
It's
way
true.
we do it. We start off in the first hour of driver education. I've already gone over the four types of braking, three of which are emergency procedures, what to do in the event of a brake system failure, throttle stick, downhill icy road, two-way stop where you can't see, all that. That's in the first hour. And most
Wow.
of the other driver education classes don't go over that ever. So
Ever.
it's dramatically different.
That is fantastic. Especially, I'm just thinking about uh, I was living in Washington State when I learned how to drive, and we had the icy conditions,
Sure,
and no, we learned nothing about that, just the basics.
sure.
So good that you did that.
Well, and the other thing is you're setting the standard as well. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't know that you can drive, especially if you're 15 and your parents have taught you. They did the best that they could, of course,
Right,
but
right.
most of them are not professionally trained top level drivers.
Exactly.
So the mistakes that they were taught get passed down from generation to generation, and the drivers don't really get any better.
That's true. That's true. What a gift to have you doing this. So you're based in Colorado. I'm guessing that's your one location, or do you ever go outside the state and do this?
We do for racing. Racing clients will be going to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin next year for the runoffs at Road America, and then there's we go out of state multiple times for that, and out of the city. We do our big corporate event at Pueblo Motorsports Park in Pueblo.
Mm.
So, but most of the stuff we do here in Louisville, I can travel to other places. Most people come to me just because it's much less expensive to come to me than if you're gonna fly me out and put me up and feed me and all that stuff. So,
Sure. Yeah, that's wonderful, Michael. So, like I said, I just thought it'd be wonderful to have you on and talk about this particular topic because you are giving in such a beautiful way. And I'm glad you said that it is wonderful to be able. You're teaching more people than I realized. The spectrum is very broad with even amputees. That's amazing.
yeah, we had a guy that wanted to be a race car driver and he'd lost his leg. So he got my name and we he was sent to me and he kind of felt a little sorry for himself. So I'm trying to remember, I always forget which leg he was missing, but whichever one, I think it was the right one.
Mhm.
So I had never driven with one foot before, ever. But I
Yeah,
got kind of tired of him pitying himself. And I said, look, we're gonna race and I'm gonna drive like you have to drive and
yeah,
let's do it. And
yeah.
I beat him badly. I said, the people you're racing with are not going to care that you don't have a leg. Matter
That's
of
true.
fact, they're going to rejoice in it because they think they can beat you easier. So
Exactly.
we have to train harder. And
Right.
once he got over that, he did very, very, very well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's just so rewarding. Kudos to you, Michael.
Well, the story after story after story that I can tell you. I mean, We could go all day long with stories over the years that I've had.
Yeah.
One of the more fun ones, is I'll get arrogant 15-year-old males that
Uh-oh.
think they are the world's best drivers.
Hmm.
And that's great. I like a little swagger that works,
Right.
but let's see if you can actually do it. Talking's easy, and
Hmm.
I set the bar high, even though I'm very patient and I'm very understanding. This
Yeah.
is what the top drivers do. And here, I can show it to you. This is how you stop perfectly.
Oh.
Now, if you're all that in a bag of chips, let's see it.
How do they receive you? They meet their match with you. So how does that go?
Well, I think, once they know that they can't fool me and that I can really do it,
Hmm.
then it's a different space than
Okay.
perhaps their parents, which are maybe average drivers and are not the best teachers.
Sure.
So usually once we get to that place, then I've put the challenge to them that if they think they're that good, then show me and let's help you be that good. So it
I
it
love,
works to their advantage.
yeah, that's so good. I love it. Well, Michael, if you could tell the audience where they can find just you in action, your many achievements, and you were on a show recently, weren't you?
Um, you mean the TV show
I do.
Hyperdrive?
I do.
Yeah, yeah, that was that was a few years ago.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I wore this very shirt.
Oh, did you?
Here, I'll show you the go for it
Oh,
there.
yes.
Um, because this purple shirt was one of the ones that they thought when they were doing the photo shoots and all that that it worked pretty well. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Right.
You know more about this than I do, so but it was something that was really a highlight of my driving career because no one had ever done that before. I mean, it was like doing all these tricks with cars, and it was for time. So it was like American Ninja Warriors meets Fast and the Furious.
Oh, wow. That's
So it was really cool, and I got selected for it because I had won so many races, and they looked me up and called me and talked to me and told me what they were going to do, and I said, "Yeah, it sounds really exciting."
right.
And they paid us to come out there. They fed us. They
Yeah.
taught us how to be even better stunt drivers.
Yeah.
Um, so it was really a lot of fun, and to meet everybody from literally around the world was
Mhm.
fascinating to me
I
because I
bet.
I haven't traveled. I mean, I used to live in Canada for a moment, and I've raced in Mexico. But other than that, I've just been in the continental United States.
Right.
So to meet people from China and Japan and Poland and Mexico and South Africa and was
Yeah.
just, phenomenal. And we ate together in the same tent, every day. And it went on for about 3 weeks. So it
Oh,
was it was really a highlight. And even though my results were very poor,
my.
as far as winning the competition,
Right.
it was still really fun. And I learned I'm a better driver because I did that than I would have been.
Oh, that's nice. Really? So that far into your career, you were a better driver on the other side of it.
Oh yeah, I'm always learning to be a better driver. no
Hmm, that's
matter no matter how many championships. This year I set some lap records. None of that will matter next year to anybody that I'm racing against. They're not going to say, oh, it's him.
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that's wonderful. And then is there anywhere else where we can see you in action? footage?
Let's see, on the website, there's a schedule, and we'll be doing that schedule. So we'll be in Hallett, Oklahoma. We'll be at Pueblo. We'll be at in Byers out at High Plains Raceway a couple of times. So there'll be three places in Colorado that if you want to come out and watch, you certainly can. You can always call me and see what my schedule is, because we're doing a lot of racetrack stuff year round. Sometimes 7 days a week. Um, Usually Saturday mornings, I'm doing Willie B's radio show, because I used to have my own radio show for a
Yeah.
while, and I really enjoyed that.
Right. That's awesome. Okay. So, audience, if you'd like to learn more about Michael, say the name of the show on Netflix one more time for me, please.
Hyperdrive.
Hyperdrive.
Yeah.
Yes. And then if you would like to see some of his racing in action, you just heard him, what he said there. And then what is your website if they'd like to get in touch with you, perhaps about driving?
It's go for it services.com, and it's the single digit number 4, not FOR. And we've got you'll see all the classes. There's lots of videos. You could spend a while if you wanted to go through everything on there. And we've got some specials happening in December if you wanted to drive one of our cars on the road. And I'm looking at you, Marcy, saying this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
or if you wanted to do have a 3-lap at speed on the track, or get 6 laps of instructions, much for much lower price points than a lot of our other classes. We're doing a special in December for all of those things. So yeah.
Thank
I
you.
just I just talked to a lady. She's got a 15 and a half year old, and he just signed up to drive one of the Corvettes on the street for an hour.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, so that'll be cool.
That is so awesome. And thank you for having this available to people because, like I said, that is such a gift to be able to experience this with someone who not only drives well, but enjoys what they do. That's wonderful.
Well, and it's, a lot of people, they're driving in fear, and they don't really know why, or they always have accidents, or they have close calls, and they
Yeah.
they don't know why. They think it's chance, and sometimes it is chance, but in most cases, if you can improve what I call the sequence, which is how they do what they do, where are you looking, what are you processing, that'll give you advanced warning. And there's people that drive millions of miles that never have an accident, ever.
True. That's
Yeah.
true.
And if you did what they did, you'd get the same results. So we
Mm.
just teach them step by step.
I just thought of something else to ask you. My dad said this years ago, and it really seems to be true. He said that when people get behind the wheel, they have a different personality. Would you say that's true?
Well, I mean, just like social media. I mean, road rage has escalated since the old days. People are carrying weapons more nowadays. And you can get in a situation where you're upsetting someone either purely by accident, or because you were a little too aggressive, or you thought you were the man and you weren't the man. They were the man because they had an automatic weapon.
Oh, isn't that
So, one of the things that we teach in the classes is how to be ahead of that situation, how
true?
to not be vulnerable in a situation, because you're getting information well in advance of most average drivers.
Right.
So, when there's a hazard or a congestion up in the distance, you see it half a mile to a mile back, whereas
Mhm.
most people see it a quarter mile ahead.
Okay.
So I mean, there's, I could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, but
Yeah.
it's awareness. We call it super safety. There's 7 elements of super safety. And if you do all 7, you can't hardly have an accident. I mean, you can still get struck by lightning. There's nothing I can do about that. But but most of the other stuff, yeah, you would be amazed.
Oh my gosh. I'm seriously, well, I have to renew my license because it expired some time ago, but I am literally willing to renew it because I want to drive with you.
Well, there you go. Cool, cool. Cool, cool.
Yes. So Michael,
Well, and
quick.
we need to get Stuart out there too
Oh,
with all the technology, you
I
know.
know. You don't have to say it twice. He would absolutely take you up on
Uh,
that.
we'll have to that'll be an aside to his new book. I'm not going to say the
What?
title or the subject.
Gonna have to change names.
uh,
Oh my
But
goodness.
I'm just curious, what's the fastest you've ever been in a car, or what's the coolest car you've ever been in?
Believe it or not, I love old cars because of this lead foot I have. I enjoy, having to handle a car. And I remember, the last car I was in was a Chrysler 300 2010 model.
Okay.
And I didn't like it at all because, I didn't have to hit the pedal hardly at all. And I'm going 100 and I didn't like that. But I have not been in like a fancy sports car or anything like that. So I would appreciate having that experience. Is that
Sure.
something where you barely have to tap the pedal, or do you really have to give it some
Well,
gas?
it depends. It depends on the car, and everybody's different. I mean, I like performance because performance in an emergency situation is what saves you.
Okay.
Leather interior, sorry, doesn't save you.
You
Not not
never
that
buy
it's not nice to
it.
have,
Yeah.
but it doesn't save you. Having the Bose super sound system, sorry,
Don't
doesn't
do
save
it.
you.
I'm so weird with that. I don't like the leather seats. I like the ones that are like a sofa. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just like
But
all stuff.
the car's ability to accelerate and brake and corner and swerve, that all of those are advantages in an emergency situation.
Sure.
And so many people these days like SUVs and pickup trucks because they sit higher and it
Mm,
feels safer until
yeah.
you're in an emergency.
Oh,
SUVs and trucks take longer to stop. And if you have to do a swerve with vehicles with higher centers of gravities, you have a
right.
higher propensity to roll over. So it's all physics 101. I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
you can think they're safer if you want, but
Mm.
by the laws of physics, to avoid an accident, many times you're actually putting yourself at a disadvantage instead of an advantage.
They're the first to hydroplane too, right? If they're
No,
leather.
hydroplaning is strictly a function of tires and water depth.
Okay.
So you could have a very high vehicle off the ground with
Mhm.
really good tires and it would not hydroplane.
Oh,
Or you
okay.
could have a very low center of gravity all-wheel drive vehicle that I would recommend with
Mhm.
bad tires or bald tires, and even at 30, 35 miles an hour, they could still hydroplane.
Now, I had a friend years ago. Her husband bought her a Dodge Charger, and she was saying that she really loved how it hugged the road. Are there a lot of cars that are going to give you that, or you're
Well,
lucky?
for most people, again, I mean, what does hug the road mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously the visual is not what they're talking about. But most people, because they've never taken their cars to the limit, they
Yeah.
don't know whether their cars handle or not.
Mm.
And any car handles. I can put you in my 1-ton crew cab dually and
Mhm.
drive it at 80%, and you'll go, this corner's pretty well,
Right.
because it's not at the limit.
Sure.
So I'm in a position where I'm very fortunate. I get to test cars at the limit on the track and see which ones are the better cars and which ones are kind of poser cars.
Not a poser car.
Yeah. But most people, if they're driving it at 80% and it's
Mhm.
comfortable to them, it handles great. And
Okay.
and again, there's nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
if you're in an actual emergency and now the car is at the limit,
Mhm.
then there are differences between the way cars handle and SUVs and pickup trucks, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know. You're right. And on average, none of us are pushing our cars to the limit because we can't really, unless we want those tickets.
Well, even how a car brakes. I mean, there's nothing illegal about going to an industrial park, doing speed limit and stopping your car, obviously checking behind you, but
Mhm.
stopping your car in the shortest distance to see how it does that and what it feels like. Most
Okay.
people have never done that. And in an emergency, they're not going to go to the correct pressure to bring it to stop in the shortest distance. And if
Right.
they go longer, then oftentimes that's the difference between having an accident that was preventable and
Mhm.
not having one.
Sure. Yeah. Michael, you are a wealth of knowledge. I love it. I literally could just continue talking, but I know that it will cut us off at a certain point. So thank you
Well, I
so
am I'm
much.
I'm at your disposal for however long we have.
I love it, and I may actually have you back on because you're just so enjoyable. And aside from just being about giving and receiving, you are a kind person. I first met you through my husband, and you're just delightful. Thank you for everything that you're offering everyone.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. It's my honor to be able to do that. And when I first met you guys, I loved you instantly. And like I
Oh,
said, I hope we get a chance to spend more time together.
certainly, I'll have to have you back on and have Stuart on as well. That'll be a
That
real
would be
conversation.
that would be a hoot now, wouldn't it?
Well, everyone, please check out Michael at Go For It Services. Please check out his website. Please check out his time on, why do I keep forgetting the name of the show on Netflix? Can you say it
Oh,
again?
hyperdrive. Yeah.
Hyperdrive.
And you'll
Yes.
you'll have to see the first episode because that's as far as I made it. If you
Oh,
if you go beyond that, you won't see me.
hey, we're on there. That's all that counts. Well, Michael, thank you so much. And happy holidays to you. And I'm serious, I'm going to have you on again. You're just so great.
You too. I would love to, and thank you, Marcy. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, everyone. I love you all. Take care.